They say we're the smartest species to ever walk the earth. We build cities, send rockets to space, rewrite our DNA. But 2 million years ago, a different kind of human was already mastering survival, without language, without books, without borders. He ran across the plains when others crawled. He endured climates that would kill us today. He held fire in his hands while the rest of the animal kingdom ran from it. And for nearly 2 million years, longer than any human species in history, he endured. His name was Homo Erectus. He never wrote a word, but his legacy is written in our bones. Today, most people don't even know he existed. But if you walk back far enough through time, not hundreds, not thousands, but millions of years, you'll find him at the origin of everything. Not a beast, not quite human, but something in between. A spark in the darkness, the first flame in a long story. This is the untold story of the human who came before us all. Long before humans ever built cities, planted crops, or carved stories into cave walls, the world was ruled by silence, instinct, and survival. Africa teemed with predators. The land shifted under volcanic pressure, and among the grasses and trees a creature stood up, not for the first time, but perhaps for the first time with purpose. This was not Homo sapiens, not yet. This was Homo erectus, and this is where our story truly begins. 2 million years ago, the world was wild and brutal. Life was short. The rules of nature were unforgiving. But from this chaos, Homo erectus emerged, a being caught between the past and the future. With longer legs and shorter arms, a narrower pelvis, and a surprisingly modern foot, Homo erectus wasn't just another ape trying to walk upright. He was built to move, built for distance, built to chase. Unlike his ancestors, he didn't wait in trees or hide in shadows. He pursued, he endured. He tracked prey across vast stretches of savanna, not with speed, but with stamina. When the antelope collapsed in the afternoon heat, Homo erectus was still running. He had no claws, no fangs, no armor. But he had persistence, and he had sweat. Homo erectus was likely the first to lose much of his body hair, trading fur for sweat glands. This allowed his body to cool during long hunts under the scorching African sun. While predators rested, he moved. While others overheated, he adapted. His naked skin wasn't a weakness, it was a weapon, but his body wasn't the only thing evolving. Inside his skull, something incredible was happening. His brain was growing. From around 600 cubic centimeters in early specimens to over 1,000 in later ones, Homo erectus showed a steady climb toward modern human brain size. And with that brain came imagination, memory, and perhaps, for the first time, something like thought. We can't know exactly what he felt, but we can imagine. The first spark of curiosity, the first realization that a stone could cut, that a flame could cook, that a path through the forest led somewhere new. Homo erectus wasn't just reacting to the world anymore, he was changing it. He made tools, not just broken rocks, but carefully shaped hand axes. These weren't random, they were symmetrical, sharp, and consistent across continents. Acheulean tools, we call them now. But to him, they were life. They were hunt and shelter and survival. Some were used, some were discarded untouched, as if they had meaning beyond function. Perhaps they were practice, perhaps they were ritual, or perhaps they were art. Fossils show Homo erectus spread far and wide, from East Africa to Georgia, from India to China, even to the islands of Southeast Asia, Java, Flores. How did he cross water? We don't know. Maybe he rafted, maybe he floated, maybe he was lucky, but he made it. He became the first hominin to leave Africa, not just once, but again and again. He wasn't migrating, he was exploring. At sites like Dmanisi in Georgia, we find skulls with both primitive and advanced features, suggesting a diversity within the species. Some had small brains, others large. Some had strong jaws, others delicate. Yet they lived side by side. They cared for their injured. They buried, or at least protected, their dead. Evidence of cooperation, of empathy, of something human. Fire came next. Or maybe it came earlier. We're still debating. Some sites show signs of controlled fire as early as 1.5 million years ago. Charred bones, burnt earth. But was it lightning? Or was it Homo erectus, feeding flame with wood and breath? If he tamed fire, it changed everything. Cooked meat gave more energy. Warmth extended survival. Light pushed back the night. Fire made stories possible. And maybe, just maybe, he had words. Not like ours, not sentences or grammar, but sounds with shared meaning. A grunt that meant danger. A whistle for water, a hum for home. Communication doesn't need vocabulary, it needs connection. And Homo erectus had lived long enough, traveled far enough, and endured enough to need it. He lived in groups, shared tasks, cared for the injured, taught the young, passed down knowledge not in books but in behavior. If you wanted to survive, you watched, you mimicked, you remembered. Culture had begun, not carved in stone but carried in minds. Yet for all his success, Homo erectus is still a mystery. He lived for nearly 2 million years, longer than any other human species. But he left no monuments, no art on cave walls, no language we can read, just tools, bones and questions. He was not Homo sapiens, but he was not fully other. He was a bridge, a living link between the apes we were and the humans we became. And as we look back across the millennia through ash and bone, we find not a stranger, but a shadow, a reflection of what we might have been, of what we still carry inside. This was Homo erectus, and this was just the beginning. 2 million years ago, a creature began walking out of Africa. He had no map, no compass, no language, no plan, and no idea that he was doing something no species had ever done. He simply followed the herd, followed the water, followed the weather, and step by step, over generations, he left footprints across a world that had never seen anything like him. His name was Homo erectus. The story of his journey is not a tale of conquest, it is a tale of endurance. Unlike other animals bound to a single ecosystem, Homo erectus adapted. He crossed deserts, climbed hills, braved cold forests and humid coasts. He reached the gates of Europe, the valleys of China, the islands of Southeast Asia. In Java, his bones rest beneath volcanic ash. In Georgia, his tools lie beside saber-toothed cats. In the Philippines, signs of his passing hint that he may have crossed oceans, not just rivers or straits, but vast, dangerous waters, and he did it nearly 2 million years ago. How? We don't fully know. No rafts have been found, no boats, no paddles, no sails, but some group left the safety of a shoreline and reached a new land. It might have been accidental, a storm, a driftwood raft, or it might have been intentional. Curiosity, hunger, a need to see what lay beyond. Whatever the reason, Homo erectus was no longer just a landwalker. He was a pioneer. With every migration came new challenges, new predators, new climates, new diseases, and each time Homo erectus endured. His body changed, his tools improved, his mind adapted. In colder regions, he sought shelter. In wetter areas, he tracked different prey. He was no longer tied to one world. He was beginning to shape all of them. But perhaps his most powerful weapon wasn't stone. It was fire. We don't know when Homo erectus first tamed it. Some say 1.5 million years ago. Others say 700,000. But deep in caves, beneath layers of ash, lie hints of ancient hearths, blackened bones, burnt soil, charcoal arranged in patterns that suggest more than wildfires. They suggest purpose. They suggest control. To control fire was to change everything. Fire cooked meat, unlocking more calories. Fire kept predators at bay, extending the day. Fire warmed bodies, opening up colder lands. And fire may have done something more. It may have changed the way we thought. Around a fire, light dances, faces glow, shadows flicker, and in that flickering light, humans tell stories. Maybe not with words, not yet, but with gestures, sounds, memory, meaning. The fire became a classroom, a church, a family circle. As Homo erectus traveled, he carried fire with him, literally and symbolically. It became part of his identity. Sites in Israel, China, and Africa show evidence of repeated fire use. It wasn't a single discovery. It was a tradition, passed down not in language but in behavior. You watch, you learn, you mimic, you survive. This is culture, this is legacy. And so, across continents, Homo erectus built a world of shared ideas. His tools became more refined. Some were double-sided, balanced, almost artistic. They weren't just for cutting, they were for showing, for teaching, for passing knowledge from one generation to the next. This wasn't just survival, it was society. But what did that society look like? There were no houses, no walls, no villages, but there were camps, circles of stones, patterns in ash, clusters of bones suggesting meals shared, injuries healed, the weak cared for. Fossils show individuals who lived with deformities, tooth loss, even broken bones, long enough that someone must have helped them, nurtured them, waited for them. That requires empathy, that requires time, that requires a group that valued more than just strength. And where there is care, there may be communication. Not speech as we know it, but sound, repetition, signals. Homo erectus had a vocal tract closer to modern humans than his ancestors. His brain, especially the Broca's area linked to speech, was more developed. Maybe he named things. Maybe he called out to children. Maybe he warned of danger or told stories of the hunt. We'll never hear his voice, but its echo is in us. He sang no songs, wrote no poems, but he built something even more powerful: continuity. For nearly 2 million years, Homo erectus existed through ice ages and extinctions, through shifting continents and rising seas. No other human species has lasted that long, not even us, and yet we know so little. No cave paintings, no sculptures, just tools, bones, ash. But isn't that enough? To have shaped the earth, to have crossed oceans, to have tamed fire, to have carried the spark of humanity across continents. Homo erectus didn't build cities, but he built the road that led to them. He didn't write history, but he made it possible. He didn't speak in words, but his silence still speaks. As we track his journey across the world, we're not just uncovering a past, we're following footprints, our own origins written in dirt, in smoke, in stone. 1 million years before the pyramids, 1 million years before the Bible, or writing, or kings. There was him, and the fire, and the road ahead. This was Homo erectus, the first human to carry the world on his back and leave a path for the rest to follow. For nearly 2 million years, Homo erectus walked the earth. He survived droughts and floods, predators and plagues. He adapted to mountains, savannas, forests, and coasts. He crossed continents, tamed fire, crafted tools, lived in groups, cared for his kind, and then he vanished. Not in a flash, not in a single cataclysm, but slowly, quietly, over thousands of years, the footprints of Homo erectus began to fade. In Africa, his fossils stop appearing around 600,000 years ago. In Europe, his presence is vague, perhaps replaced by Homo heidelbergensis. In Asia, he lingered longer. The last known population of Homo erectus lived on the Indonesian island of Java until about 117,000 years ago, long after modern humans had begun to emerge. Long after Neanderthals were thriving in Europe. Somehow, in a small pocket of the world, a species that had once ruled 3 continents held on and then disappeared. Why? We still don't know. Maybe the climate changed too fast. Maybe the ecosystem shifted. Maybe new hominin species outcompeted him, more social, more adaptable, more innovative. Or maybe Homo erectus was simply out of time, a species built for endurance, finally reaching the end of the trail. But his legacy didn't end there. Homo erectus may not have painted caves or carved gods, but he did something more enduring. He passed on traits that would shape the future of humanity. His body, tall, strong, efficient, became the template for our own. His brain, though smaller than ours, made possible the expansion that led to language, culture, and thought. His tools, his fire, his migrations, each one a step toward what we would become. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, didn't evolve from scratch. We are the sum of what came before, and Homo erectus was a cornerstone. Some scientists believe he gave rise to Homo heidelbergensis, who in turn led to Neanderthals and modern humans. Others argue that Erectus directly contributed to our gene pool. Either way, his fingerprints are all over our species. Even today, echoes of his story remain. When we run long distances, it's because Homo erectus ran before us. When we gather around a fire, speak in groups, or pass down stories, we're following a path he blazed. When we explore new lands driven by curiosity or necessity, we're channeling a 2-million-year-old instinct, the instinct to move, to learn, to survive. And yet he remains mostly forgotten. When we talk of ancient humans, we speak of Neanderthals, of Denisovans, of cave paintings and mammoth hunts. But Homo erectus was first to stand tall, first to leave Africa, first to tame fire, first to think beyond the moment. He deserves more than a footnote. His fossils tell a story not of one moment, but of resilience. His tools speak of minds capable of planning. His spread across the globe is not just a biological fact, it's a human story. A story of movement, of change, of hope. He didn't build cities, but he built the possibility of cities. He didn't write books, but he made minds that one day could. He didn't pray to gods, but he looked at the stars and maybe, just maybe, wondered. And in the end, maybe that's the most human thing of all. To wonder. To walk into the unknown not because it is safe, but because it is there. To build a fire not just for warmth, but to gather. To craft a tool not just to survive, but to teach. To live not just for yourself, but for those around you. Homo erectus vanished from the world. But he didn't vanish from us. In our hands, our bones, our breath, he endures. We were not the first. Before Homo sapiens ever took their first step, before the first word was spoken or the first fire lit in a cave we could call home, Homo erectus was already there, walking, learning, enduring. He didn't leave behind cathedrals or kingdoms, but he carved something far more lasting. The path, a blueprint for survival. A rhythm of movement, a way of thinking that reached beyond instinct. He was the first to leave the land he knew, the first to shape stone with purpose, the first to carry fire, not just as warmth, but as hope. And when he vanished, he left no goodbye, no monument, no tomb, just silence. But that silence still echoes, in our bones, in our breath, in the firelight we gather around today. Homo erectus didn't disappear. He became part of us. And when we run, explore, adapt, create, or simply look into the unknown with curiosity instead of fear, we're continuing a story that began 2 million years ago. The story of a human who never knew our world, but helped build the possibility of it.